Oh, good.
We are now.
Okay. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, councillors, members of the public, and anyone watching on YouTube to this meeting of the Planning Applications Committee on Thursday, the 21st September. The agenda has been published, and the first item is apologies for absence.
Thank you. We've had apologies from Councillor Helen Whitcroft and Councillor Liz Noble. Councillor Louise Ashbury is substituting for Councillor Whitcroft, and Councillor MacDonald is substituting for Councillor Noble. We've also been joined by Councillor Perrett, who is virtual.
Thank you. Would you care to read the public notices?
Just to let you all know, as we have members of the public here, we aren't expecting a fire alarm this evening or even a practice. So if you do hear the fire alarms go, which is a loud ringing bell sound, please just follow me out through the doors, down the stairs, and we'll meet in the car park. Please don't stop to collect any belongings or personal possessions, and please don't re-enter the building until you have been told that it's safe to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. The minutes, the copious minutes of the previous meeting have been circulated. Has anybody any comments to make on these, or am I okay to sign them? Thank you very much. Thank you. Item 3, declarations of interest. Does any member have a wish to declare a disclosable pecuniary or non-pecuniary interest in the items we are to discuss this evening? Councillor Garrett.
Thank you, Chair. I received an email from a resident reference the second item on the agenda tonight, asking me various questions, which I will bring to the table later on, but I'm obviously still here with an open mind.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Wilson.
Sorry, Chair, I think we all received an email from Skanska Development Director this afternoon. Or maybe it's just me then. Okay, I received an email.
Well, anyone who did, thank you. Okay, moving on to the applications. Planning application number 221066 RRM, Princess Royal Barracks, Brunswick Road, Deepcut. Sarita.
Thank you, Chair. Are you doing it or am I doing it? Right, okay. Next slide, please. The application to be considered this evening relates to the northern area of the Princess Royal Barracks redevelopment site. We are talking about the area in the big playing field, the area to the north where you see the octagon type building. And we have the woodland to the north of the playing pitch. And we also have DIO roads, which leads from Deep Cupboard Road down to Cypress Road, which sort of bisects the area between the playing pitches and Dettingham Park. Next slide, please. This is an overview of the proposals that we're looking at tonight. It comprises 4 areas. We have the North Dettingham Anks, which is to the left-hand, so to the west of the plan. You have the North Alma Angst, which is to the east of the plan. We have the allotments, which is to the sort of south and east of the North Dettingham Angst. And then we have the upgrading of Somme Road, the temporary Hall Road to be upgraded to be a proper road to county standard, and also the upgrading of Cypress Road. Next slide, please. This is the first one. So this is North Dettingham Angst. Now, Angst is accessible natural green space, so it is basically space for people to walk through and enjoy. So in this case, we have got a new footpath going north-south And we've also got a link that is going to go to the east to tie up with the sports hub. As part of the provision of the North Detting and Anks, we have also secured 2 heritage orchards. Next slide, please. The southern part of the North Detting and Anks goes down to its common boundary with Dettingham Park. The very southern area is currently used by residents of Dettingham Park as a parking area. But again, you can see the end of the link, and that link will then cross the road onto Deep Cupboard Road and then out towards the Frith Hill cycle route, so it all should connect. We are also securing, by way of condition, a link in the middle of the site to go out towards Deep Cupboard Road. So again, we're trying to improve as much connectivity because the main cycle pedestrian route is actually on the other side of Deep Cupboard Road. Next slide, please. We have the allotments. Now, we have the proposal is for a total of 36 allotments. As you will see from the plan, they are, we have 2 sizes. We have 24 plots that are the bigger size, which is 10.5 by 25 metres, and then the smaller plots, which are 10 by 12. This is the request of the Camberley District Horticultural Society, who run the council's allotments in the west of the borough. The thinking behind it is that it can accommodate people that are either just starting out to see if they would like to have an allotment, or those people who are coming to the end of their time as allotment holders and want to sort of wind down. And also we have got some plots that are also accessible. Next slide, please. We then have, can you go back one, Catherine? I forgot to say something. As part and parcel of the allotment proposal, we have got the provision of 17 parking spaces, including 1 for disabled use. We have also got an area in the centre of the site that we have identified as a storage area. Both the car parking and the storage building will be secured by way of condition. All of the proposals for the allotments have been done in full consultation with the Camberley District Horticultural Society, and they are satisfied with what is being proposed. Thank you. Next one. The area is to the east is the North Alma Angst. This has 2 specific areas. We have a retained woodland, which is the dark green on the left-hand side picture, and then the rest of it is currently open and or treed. And as part of this proposal, we have secured additional tree planting. There will also be routes, a pedestrian cycle route through across the Angst. You will see that part on the right-hand side, you have got the outdoor gym, but that falls to be considered as part of the sports hub application, which will be coming forward towards the end of the year. Next one, please, Catherine. And this is the area that borders onto the military land. So you have the retained land to the northeast, and you have obviously the open space, and again more planting in this area, and again the footpath links coming through. Those links are basically 3 metres wide within the North Detting and Anks. They are 2.5, and the reason for the difference is because we want to retain, if we did the 3 metre path in the North Detting and Anks, we'd lose more trees. Next one, please. As part of this proposal, it is also proposed to upgrade the existing DIO roads. At the moment, we have got Somme Road, which goes from Deep Cupboard Road round the bend. And if the local area, it has an area of tarmac in the middle, so it's almost like a quasi-roundabout, but not quite. That is going to be removed and landscaped, and we will have a conventional road layout following through with the access points for the care home, the sports hub, and also for the allotments, and a residential phase 4D, which is on the bend. Next one, please. This is you see. So you've got the northern one is the access to the care home. You have the access point that is going into the phase 4D, and then you have on the previous plans you've got the access into the allotments and the sports hub. Next one. And these are some pictures. So you've got the views from Deep Cupboard Road. So the North Detting and Angst is to the left of the road, on the left-hand side, and to the right The existing access which served the officers' mess is going to be closed. And obviously we think it's in that vicinity that the new footpath will be provided. Next one. The picture on the left demonstrates where the existing residents from Dettingham Park currently park. That area will be removed and that will become part and parcel of the angst. And then the picture on the right gives you a picture of the current setup where we have that area of tarmac that sort of acts like a roundabout. So at the moment, you come round the top of the northern part of that and then round. What will happen is that area will be removed and then you'll have a conventional 2-lane road coming round that bend. Next one, please, Catherine. This is a view looking back towards Somme Road and towards Menorca Road. So the area that's to be removed is sort of that darker colour and towards the back of the picture. And then we're also looking at the Hall Road, which has been used during the process of the development by the construction traffic. But they are now looking to upgrade it and make it as part and parcel of the local highway infrastructure to serve the northern area of the development site. Next one, please, Catherine. These are just two views standing inside where the former officers' mess was. It's looking north on the left-hand side and looking south on the right-hand side. As you can see, it's cleared. And these are just general views from the sports hub looking across to the allotments and to the North Dettingham Angst. So you've just got a sense of where the link will come through, because it will be opposite where the access is currently showing where the car is. Next one, please. And these are just general views. The one on the left is looking back from the temporary Hall Road towards the North Dettingham Angst and allotments, and then across, you've turned round and you're looking across what will be the sports hub and part of the North Armour Angst. And these are just general views from Cypress Road, just giving a sense of just sort of the open space, and part of it will be sports pitches in the fullness of time, and part will be part of this open space. And again, these are views from Dettingham Road towards Dettingham Park in the distance. You can see Alma Gardens to your left, and then it's just a view from Dettingham Road on the right-hand side of just the existing open space that we have. And again, this is the houses on the right-hand side and the left-hand picture of Dettingham Road. Again, just pictures of the open space that we have. The picture on the right is more, it forms the boundary with the retained military land to the east. And that is retained. And then if we go to the next one, please, Catherine. These two are interesting because it goes back to the original discussions we had about what could come through from Pirbright and what can't. At the moment, there are existing military gates on the left-hand side, which leads from Pirbright, and that's on the right-hand side is the gate that goes into Ain Road. As you'll see from the agenda, we've put a condition on saying that except in emergency, they cannot be used by the military. Because, again, the amount of traffic was not factored into the hybrid permission. It is supposed to be an open space. It is not supposed to have traffic. So it is, again, we're just making sure that we retain control and it is appropriate for use as an open space. Next one. This is what, there are two existing paths within the woodland. And they're both going to be formalised, and it's the picture on the left shows one of the paths to be formalised and with views through to the sports hub. And then you come out of the woodland, and that's the view you have, which is just a general view towards the sports hub and the North Armour Angst. So there is an update. There's a couple of changes. The applicant wanted a change to an informative and to a condition, which we have agreed to. There's a correction to the condition 1, which goes from above to below. But the recommendation is to grant as per the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Sarita. Members, do we have any questions? Councillor White.
The allotments, as parish councillor, we look after allotments in Lightwater for Windlesham, Bagshot and Lightwater residents. Will these allotments be restricted to the residents of the new estate, or will they put out to a wider area?
The allotments are restricted by the legal agreement to residents of Deepcut. So as it stands at the moment, my colleague Sue McCubbin, who oversees the allotments for the council as part of her portfolio, of the area that she manages, and as if by magic, there she is, has already started a waiting list for these allotments, because we are starting to get inquiries. So we are trying to be a bit proactive so that people can put themselves on the list. So, thank you.
Councillor Garrett.
Thank you, Chair. My question is relating to the accessibility. Are all the allotments accessible, or only some of them? And also, assuming, I know there's car parking nearby, is there disabled car parking and then easy access from the car park to the accessibility allotment? Thank you.
If you look at the picture on the right, we have disabled parking there. We have got an area that people can pull into, and that is gated, so it's secure. There are the plots that are identified for accessible use are on the right, but that's not to say that ultimately we could make them what we need them to be, because at the end of the day, it is something that the council would be managing on the basis that they're transferred to us. So, we want to make it as inclusive as we can. The area that you've shown purple there is the care home, and because of the way that its proximity to the SPA, it can only be for people that have to be in sort of care. I can't really get out and about, and they have already indicated that they would very much like to have an allotment for the care home as part and parcel of their holistic approach to how they look after their people, which, is beautiful, really. Thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Wilson, then Councillor MacDonald.
Yeah, it's just a question about the size of the allotment plots. It says on page 15 that the standard size is 125 square metres, and it says on page 12 the dimensions, and my math says that about 250 square metres. On page 15 it says the 125 square metre plots can be divided and made into smaller ones, but I think, is that a mistake?
Basically, the bigger plots can be made smaller, or a plot holder may actually say, I want 3. So at the end of the day, what we're looking to do is make sure that things can be flexible, because at various times of the operation of the allotments, people have different needs, and we want to try as far as possible to accommodate what our community is looking for at the end of the day. There is no right or wrong answer in terms of how they are allocated, or how somebody wants to, how they want to bid for them to the council.
Yeah,
so,
I think my point is, it's just like the standard size one seems to be 250 square metres, and the half size one is about 125 square metres.
Yeah.
But it says on page 15 that the standard size one is 125 square metres. I think it says it twice. And it says that that's been requested by the Horticultural Society.
Yeah, I think a standard size allotment is 250. I think if you go to the Horticultural Society, that's the standard that they set. But one of the things that they also comment on is the fact that because of how people choose now to have allotment plots, it's important to have flexibility. And this is what the Camberley District Horticultural Society have said to us, that is what they have as an as the need that they're looking for us to provide as the council.
Yeah, thanks. I understand.
Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, Chair. I very much appreciated Councillor Garrett's question around accessibility, and I noted that in the pack of information as well. What I don't remember seeing was actually anything in terms of the design of the plots to enable disabled access. So yes, you can get access, but in terms of the actual infrastructure of the allotment itself, raised beds, for example, did I miss that in there, or was it not? Was it omitted?
That would fall to us as part of the management once it's transferred to us. So that's where it would be picked up. So the planning permission requires the provision of the allotments, and we have a layout for plot sizes. But in terms of actually the nuts and bolts, in terms of the very great detail, that would fall to us as the council, as the managing body for the allotments.
Anyone else? No? We have an officer recommendation to approve this application. Would anybody like to propose that? Councillor Whitcroft and second, Councillor Garrett. All those in favour, please raise your hands.
So that's Councillor Garrett, Councillor Glowett, Councillor Kang, Councillor MacDonald, Councillor O'Mahony, Councillor Rowlands, Councillor Skipper, Councillor Thompson, Councillor Wheeler, Councillor Whitcroft, Councillor Ashbury, Councillor White and Councillor Wilson, so unanimous, and Councillor Beckton, so unanimous.
Unanimous. Thank you very much. On item 2, can't see. Oh, leave this side. Thank you. Which is regarding 4 Lawrence Lodge, Old Dean Road, Camberley. And Duncan Cartier is presenting.
Thank you, Chair. This proposal relates to the redevelopment of a home for the homeless. The proposal is to provide 20 affordable dwellings with a mix of house and flats. Members may recall this application was reported to the committee on the 1st of June earlier this year. The committee resolved to grant the application subject to conditions and the completion of the legal agreement. To date, the legal agreement has not been completed and the application has not been determined. Subsequent to that resolution, a request has been made by the applicant to amend the wording of Condition 1. This condition limits the commencement of the permission to 1 year from the date of the permission, and the request is to extend it to 3 years. This application has only been referred back to committee to consider this change. The resolution by the committee on this application has been made, and this is not the opportunity to review this decision. Members must therefore only consider this request for the change to Condition 1. For information, I'll lead you briefly through the plans and photos. First slide, thank you. Oh, there it is. The application site is located at the end of the cul-de-sac, Old Dean Road in the settlement of Camberley. Allotment gardens wrap around the rear of the site. Next slide, please. This is the application site from the approach road with the building located behind the play area. Next slide, please. This is the existing layout on the left and the proposed layout for the development on the right. Next slide. There's just some elevations for the proposed development. The flats to the left and houses to the right. And the final image is the CGI images for the development. As indicated above, the matter in front of members to resolve relates solely to the time period to commence the development being extended from 1 to 3 years. The standard time period to commence development is 3 years, and for most developments within the borough, this limitation would be applied. However, this council has reduced this time period to 1 year for development where there is a net gain in residential units. This is due to the limited SAN capacity, particularly in the west of the borough, and to ensure that approved developments are implemented in a timely manner to best use this limited capacity. This request has been made because this accommodation is being used for a further 18 months for hostel accommodation for the homeless, and a time period beyond will be needed to decant to new accommodation. This request allows the council to discharge its homeless accommodation duties under the Housing Act in the most cost-efficient manner, and this approach is supported by the council's housing services manager. Under these circumstances, it is considered by officers that the time period can be extended to commence this development. The application proposal is supported with a recommendation to approve, subject to the conditions and a legal agreement with the change to condition 1 to allow the commencement of the development within 3 years. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, given that we have discussed this at length not so long ago, and there is a recommendation to approve, does anybody have any questions? Councillor White.
At the last meeting, were we not told that this building was already empty, yet you're saying they want to use it for another 18 months? And because it was empty, that's why the year provision was put on it. And that's all changed, obviously?
It has changed quite quickly over the summer. It was sort of running down and was empty, but they've taken the decision that because other accommodation that they wanted to use is not ready, they need a longer time period to use that building for the homeless. That wasn't anticipated when I brought it to committee in June. So it's a new information. And as I say, the housing services manager has suggested that's acceptable here.
Councillor White, do you want to come back?
So was it made habitable again? Because weren't we told that it was inhabitable?
Yeah, if I draw you to paragraph, the Roman numerals 4, the housing services manager said that there's been some capital works at the lodge to bring it up to current fire safety standards, so it can be used for housing. So there's some work that's been done.
Councillor Rowlands.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm coming into this as a new boy. Obviously, it's been going on the council for some time. Who is Alex Rivers? We don't know who the applicant is. I'm just puzzled why we're into a delay of 3 years, and the consequences for the homeless in the borough are quite severe, because we know there are not alternative accommodation for them, and even the amount of bed and breakfast is in some doubt. There seems to be always mixed, as the previous speaker was saying, mixed messages. At one moment it's empty, and the next moment you hear there are people actually in situ still at Lawrence Lodge. I think it's a very worrying process. I must admit, there's some information that I'm coming to completely fresh, and much precedes it, but it doesn't seem to me as though we've got a handle on this completely at all. Thank you.
First of all, the applicant is Accent Group. It's the Accent Housing. That's put on the updates. This change in circumstances is something which only came to light after it came to committee. It's something that's happened outside of this planning remit. It's something that through the housing services, and they've been trying to get alternative accommodation for the homeless, and they've had a need to use this building for the next 18 months because that accommodation isn't ready. Unfortunately, that's all I know about it.
Thank you, Mr. Carty. Councillor Garrett.
Thank you. I echo the concerns of both Councillor White and Councillor Rowlands. I know a little bit of background on this building, and I know there were some issues with the fire regs, which I know now have been done. Having said all that, the accommodation is quite old now, and the best thing to do for Lawrence Lodge is to knock it down and start again, and the sooner we do that, the better, for the need of helping the homeless within Surrey Heath. So I'm minded not to approve this, but we'll see where we go on that, because I think it needs to be done as soon as possible, and the 1 year was in the original planning application, and we agreed to the original planning application. So that's my thoughts on that. I have one question. I know you're saying we're relating specifically to that point, but in the papers that came out as a supplement, which was Agenda Item 5, Annex C, which I'm assuming, because it says originally published in... What, is that the document that was originally published when we got the original planning application? Okay, it's right, because I've noticed the hedges being removed, and I can't remember if we discussed that at the last meeting.
That's the original update to that first committee meeting, because we had all those changes to the conditions in the lead up, and I wanted the members to be aware of all of those changes so that they could then see that they've been carried through to the list of conditions in the amended report. That was the reason for it. But all I would say is that the reason why we are accepting this, where we wouldn't always accept that, is because of that need for this council to be able to discharge those functions. And this allows this council to do that. And that's the driving force for this. It's not the way it's about what we do with the homeless. It's to allow that accommodation to be used for 18 months. So it's quite important. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Perrott, you have a hand up.
Yes, what is the current, sorry, I may have missed it, but what is it currently used for? And I mean, right now, what is it currently used for?
It's been used
Thank you.
Yes, it's been used for the homeless.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just check my understanding? So the original event here was the fact that the legal agreement has not been completed in time. Is that correct? And then it just happens to suit us from a housing provision point of view to allow this to go through. Is that what I'm understanding?
Following the committee resolution, which allowed the legal agreement to be completed, it has been a delay process, but the delay has been because of this issue. They need to resolve this issue. So that's why there's been a delay. It's not the case that there's a time limit per se to it. It has gone on longer than we would have necessarily wished, but the reason being is because of what's now back in front of members tonight.
So what is the issue that requires resolution? Maybe I've missed that somewhere.
It's to change the time period to commence the development from 1 year to 3 years. That's it.
Can I just confirm my understanding? We had an approval in June because the building was not being used and it was substandard and it was going to be knocked down and rebuilt and it was going to happen fairly soon. Subsequent to that decision, it's turned out that there has been a need for accommodation. So the building has been upgraded and is now being used to house homeless people.
For a temporary period.
For a temporary period,
yeah.
While other accommodation is made ready. Once that accommodation is ready, in about 18 months, those people will be moved into the new accommodation, and then they want to carry on with knocking down this building and build new accommodation. Is that right?
Yeah, the 18 months is the time period that we have control over that building to use it for the homeless. Then it's a decanting period to move the people out and get it ready. So that's a bit too tight for 2, so that's why 3 years, because they've also got to deal with the conditions as well. And they can't, talking through it, about the sort of logistics about when they could start it, they can't really start it until all of that's done. The demolition can't be done, they can't demolish it. They can't really start it until it's all done.
Thank you. Councillor Garrett.
I just want to pick up on the point of upgrade. It's still substandard. The only thing that's been upgraded is the fire regs. So it's still substandard, in my opinion, and all they've done is made sure it's legal for the fire regs. So upgrading, I think, is a little bit of a...
Excuse my
I just want to pick it, because if we're voting on it, I think it needs to be clear that that's the case.
Sort of explain that a bit more, Councillor, just that the accommodation itself is not fully shared, is not sort of, there's a lot of shared accommodation, which back in the day was probably okay, but not so much now. There needs to be more self-contained accommodation now. It was bizarre sharing bathrooms and sharing this. It was a very, very odd arrangement, which obviously was acceptable then, not so much now. So you're right on that, Councillor. Yeah.
Councillor Glauert, then Councillor Thompson.
First of all, I mean, how many people are in there? Do we know? And because if they're sharing, or are they not sharing bathrooms and things?
I don't know the number in there at the moment. Our housing service manager hasn't given that information. But at the moment, they will have to share facilities, yes.
And, this 18-month accommodation, is that definite? I mean, something's been earmarked, has it? And they're getting it ready?
I don't know the details of where they'll be moved to. I haven't been given that information. But what I have been told is that there is a contract for 18 months to provide it for the homeless. That's all I know, I'm afraid.
Councillor Thompson, then Councillor Whelan.
So, Councillor Glauert actually asked one of the questions I was interested in, which was the numbers. I'm assuming, because I wasn't at the previous planning meeting, so I don't have the benefit of all the history. I'm assuming this building historically has always been, or certainly in recent history, has been used for temporary homeless accommodation. And once rebuilt, it will then be once again used for the same purpose. Is that correct?
The affordable housing.
Affordable housing, so it would no longer be used for. Okay, fine. What is the average? Or you may not know this because this is not a planning question. But do you have any idea of the average tenure of the people that pass through this establishment?
I don't have that information, I'm afraid.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just check a couple of assumptions before supporting this? I am assuming that if that accommodation, so if we were to vote against the extension and they were unable to complete within the year, the first point is anybody that is currently housed there, we would essentially be leading to them needing to go into temporary hotel-led accommodation. I'm assuming that's the only alternative to it. So I think we need to be mindful of that. And as it is currently occupied, I'm assuming that they've taken their foot off the pedal a little bit in terms of getting a contractor in to start the work. And there may well be some difficulties anyway. We all know that things are a little bit tight at the moment in the building site. So essentially, if we were to say, no, you've got to do it within a year, they would face fines or the planning lapsing as a result of that.
Yes.
And we would face however many families are currently housed in there for the next 18 months needing to go into temporary hotel-led accommodation or to be housed outside the borough. Thank you.
Yeah, and this is the most cost-effective way of running that.
Then Councillor Rowland.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate the comments raised by members, and I appreciate that you want to get on redeveloping the site, and I've heard the comments in terms of the site being substandard and also the accommodation which has been provided. I think this gives the current use of the site a bit more time until they actually complete their transfer and decant those residents from there, and then basically afterwards we can reassure members that they'll carry on with that application going forward. So I understand we want to get on and build these affordable units and get on and redevelop the site, and that will happen in 18 months' time. It's 3 years, gives that opportunities going forward.
Councillor Rowland.
Yes, Chairman. This may be a naive question, but why did we reduce the number of places at Lawrence Lodge in the planning? There's no indication that the number of homeless in the borough is reduced to any extent. But why was the number that it would accommodate actually reduced?
Sorry, Councillor Rowlands, can you re-ask that question? So I'm not understanding.
The number of families that could be accommodated, I think is around 20. The original number at Lawrence Lodge was nearly 30. So why has there been this reduction in the number of families available for places? space available for places?
So in terms of the application itself, I mean, obviously it's been based on planning policy and what the actual development can actually hold in terms of design, amenity, and also transport issues. So all these matters were considered as part of the previous application, and these were granted by members back in June. So it's not going over anything new, really.
Thank you. Councillor Garrett?
Two things. One thing, in answer to Councillor Thompson's question, I think, and I could be wrong, I'm pretty sure, the short term was about 6 months to about a year, I think, was the max. I don't think they like them being in any longer than that. It is short-term accommodation. Is there any way that we could put a provision on this, that if we tonight approve 3 years, that it is 3 years and that's it? They can't then extend that again? Because I'm conscious that if between us voting on it in June and we're now in August, they've suddenly put a number of people in there knowing that we were looking at this application, that in another 18 months' time, there might be even more people in there and they might say we need to push it back even further.
So 3 years is the limit. So basically, if they don't implement the application within 3 years, they have to come back in with a new application again and then come back to committee again as well.
On that point, going from 1 year to 3 years, is that 1 year, obviously from June, and taking Councillor Garrett's point, is the 3 years from June or from today?
The 3 years is from the date the permission is issued, which follows the completion of the legal agreement. We've still got the legal agreement to complete, and then...
So we have...
Yeah. So can I ask you something?
Yeah, go on.
That. So the legal agreement, who's holding that up? So we could be in a situation where, I don't know, 6 months' time, they might suddenly say, we're going to sort the legal agreement out. So the 3 years then starts from when the legal agreement is agreed, yes?
That's quite standard for where we're waiting for legal agreement to be completed. It is. Many reports come forward to you in that manner, and that is what it means.
Okay.
The date is when it's issued. We
so they could drag their heels again and
we can't backdate it.
Okay, fair enough.
Councillor Glower, then Councillor MacDonald, and then I think we've probably talked it to death.
Right, I was just wondering, they talk about it being 18 months, they'll have this new accommodation for the homeless. So can we make it 18 months rather than 3 years, or perhaps if we're being kind, 2 years? But we don't have to, do we have to make it...
As I understand, if we made it 18 months, we would then have to build it like that to make it available for new people. The idea of the 3 years is to take the 18 months to take people out, rehouse them, demolish, and then rebuild within 3 years. Am I correct?
It's to get the demolition works underway as the starting point for this development. So that's where we are. Yeah.
Councillor MacDonald, and then I think we need to take a vote.
Thank you, Chair. I am very mindful of the inputs from Councillor Garrett and Councillor Wheeler around this particular application. We are sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place in terms of some of the housing requirements for people in the borough, as we're all aware. I'm just wondering, in terms of the conditions that we could put to this, and mindful of all the comments around the suitability of this accommodation and it being at the end of its life, can we put further conditions in to ensure that what is there for the 18 months is fit for human habitation? Because I certainly wouldn't want to be part of a decision that then leads to some small child getting impacted by mould and all the rest of it down the line.
So in terms of that, that wouldn't be covered under planning. That'd be covered under the Housing Act, in terms of their own sort of due diligence and policies, which the housing team would have to implement if they were looking to house lot people there. So that wouldn't be covered under planning at all. And this is considering a new development, so not considering what's currently existing on site. So we can add any new conditions on to the permission.
I hate to be rude, but I think we've talked it to death. We have an officer recommendation. Do I have a proposer for the officer recommendation? Councillor Whitcroft. Seconder, Councillor Wheeler. All those in favour, please raise your hands.
Right, so that's Councillor O'Mahony, Councillor Wheeler, Councillor Whitcroft, Councillor Wilson and Councillor Betton.
Councillor MacDonald.
Oh, and Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you. All those against?
So against that would be Councillor Garrett, Councillor Rowlands, Councillor Skipper, Councillor Thompson, Councillor Ashbury, Councillor White.
And abstentions?
Councillor Glowett and Councillor Kang. Have I missed anyone?
6 for, 6 against.
Okay, so we're at 6 for and 6 against. Chairman's casting a vote.
Well, I said to Mr. Chenier that I would always vote for the status quo, and the status quo was that it was approved. So I'm voting to approve. Casting vote. And that, ladies and gentlemen, I think is a first, and thank you very much.